Hello again. So what you're seeing right now is Planetside 2 on the PlayStation 4. It is in beta, as you can see with the watermark across it, and I'll just go over a little bit about that just now. It does have some problems, but that's to be expected from a beta. Whenever you do load into it at first, it can have a bit of trouble when you try and access some of the consoles that are available to you, like to change your equipment, spawn vehicles, things like that. The options sometimes won't show up perfectly, they'll show wrong items or things like that. Sometimes the frame rate will drop a little bit, and apart from that it's all pretty good. The two classes that I've been going with at the moment, as you can see just now, there's a sniper. I also have one video where I'm playing as the combat medic. I'm liking the sniper a little bit more at the moment because it can turn invisible. That's the main reason I do like it, but the combat medic's quite good too because I can heal myself or revive and heal others at the same time. But the one thing I want to talk about during this at the moment is recently there was another episode of Iwata Asks, and it was done with Tetsuya Takahashi, who was the executive director of the Xenoblade series. And one of the main things went over this is that the development of Xenoblade Chronicles was really just to prove a point after the failure of the Xenosaga series on the PlayStation 2. Now, I did enjoy the Xenosaga series, but I do very much more enjoy the Xenoblade world. For me, it was a masterpiece, which is what the development team was going for when they were making Xenoblade Chronicles. I just want to go over a little bit that was said during the actual What Asks. So what Tetsuya Takahashi has said is, to give a brief outline of the structure of JRPG, first you have the story as the y-axis and the game system and gameplay as the x-axis, and it is really important to keep those two things balanced. Now what he's saying here is that he'd really wanted to have a good storyline with gameplay and everything else at the same time. He feels that that's how to make a lot of your games better, and I agree with him there. That's something that you can't really just put onto RPGs or JRPGs, and he says that a lot of his own games hadn't really followed that and were quite bad at the same time. He says that most will just focus on one or the other, and to be honest, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it can turn out quite well. There is a lot of really good story-driven games where the gameplay is not top-notch, but it's still quite great. So he goes on to say, the first thing that I did when I was making Xenoblade Chronicles was use my experience to decide on a good balance for between the x-axis and y-axis and structure it that way. He then goes on to say a few other things, like he goes back and says about when he first started up Monolith Soft back in 1999. They'd got some funding from Namco before they became Bandai Namco, or Bamco as I call them, and the first game that they made was Xenosaga, but because we were developing it while we were building the organisation, we didn't have enough people, Takahashi recalls. The programmers and the planners were all rookies. At the time, the director of Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade Chronicles X Kojima had just joined the company right after graduating college. And it is a bit embarrassing to admit, but the graphics engine was only completed 6 months before the development deadline of Xenosaga. That's the schedule that we're on. So, and as he says, it sounded like a bit of an excuse, but at the time I felt that because no one on the team making Xenosaga had any experience, it might be a little too difficult for us to make our ideal game yet. Now, I did enjoy Xenosaga, and I did enjoy quite a lot of the Xenosaga series, but I feel that with Xenoblade Chronicles, they've done a lot better than what they have done previously. And now with the Xenoblade Chronicles, they do go on to mention, Iwata Asks, that they weren't sure if they were going to bring it over to Western gamers at all, because at the time JRPGs weren't as big as they used to be. They were actually in decline at the time, and with that they weren't sure how it would be well received over here, and when it was well received over here they were actually really thankful for that, and that's probably the reason why we're getting Xenoblade Chronicles X without having to beg for it like we did last time with Operation Rainfall. Now, I can see where they're coming from, and there is quite a lot more to the Iwata asks, so if you'd like to have a look at it, I'll have a link in the bottom, in the description. And just like to say, what I'm playing at the moment is Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. I'll go onto my systems just to get footage for these videos. But I'll leave my friend code in the description as well if anyone would like to join me for Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. I'm about Hunter rank 240 something, got high end gear, so if anyone needs help with anything just let me know. Bye now.